Okay, Hulio. Let's try and maybe play something interesting here. F4. Right, D3. Oh, E5 now. In fact, I'd like to get a nice pawn centre in this game. So what about A3 and B4 as a gambit? H3 and G4 just to keep the knight off F5. I know I weakened myself, but Bishop G2 covers up the weaknesses to an extent. In fact, I don't know, C3 and D4 to answer F6 with D4. What was Queen E1 here? Maybe Queen E1. There's knight D4 though. Knight B3. Knight B4 there's knight A3. Knight D4 maybe I just take. See F6, maybe E6 here. And then F5. I don't know. I'll try it. I'll try and get this wedge. Although knight, I don't know, knight D4. Maybe I can play Bishop H6 and G takes to keep that wedge. I'm giving out that dark square bishop. Is that going to be dangerous? It's Queen H4, Bishop E3. Yeah, these dark squares. Yeah, tricky. Something like knight H4 to G6, then Queen H4. I could try and challenge G4 maybe. Play Bishop F1. So knight C3 here. I don't know, knight C3, knight B4. Knight takes D5, Queen E5, knight G5, threatening knight F7. I'll try that actually. Knight F7, King G7. So knight D5, is that really possible? Or is everything on G2 here? I think it's going to backfire on G2. So better to keep this closed probably. Let me just Queen H4 or something. I don't know actually. Knight D5, Queen D5, Knight G5. Yeah. That's quite interesting. Oh, I'll go for it. Is it going to be Queen sack? Rook G5, Bishop D5. Queen moves, Knight F7, Bishop C6. Looks dangerous. Knight D4, just simply Knight D4. I don't know, maybe C4 there. And Queen H6. Queen H4, Knight D4, Queen H4. Bishop D5. C4 is sort of tempting to just try and get this light square bishop. So say Knight D4, C4, and then if Bishop D5, you know, CD, Queen D5, then Knight G5 again. So maybe C4, Knight D4, C4. If Knight C2, Queen H4. So if Queen D5, Knight G5, unless there's something really vicious there like Knight D4, but again Knight F7 check forces the king in front of the rook. So going for this. Yes, he could do that. Alright, so that guards against Knight F7. And there's a queen sack. Am I forced? What about C4? Queen G2, Rook G2, I don't really gain much. Right, so I'll go for that. Alright, so I've got this wedge still. But he's pretty solid. Or is he? Oh, he's threatening bishop f4. Quite killing, so I have to do something about that. Queen f2 maybe. And hopefully I can play h4. Well, that's not brilliant now, but c4, doesn't that win the bishop? I'll try c4. Let's just block that bishop going back. If I can get this bishop, I think there'll be less to worry about. Piercing the light squares. He's just resigned. Right, materially, queen 2 rooks. Queen, I think materially he's winning this, almost. Maybe not quite. 3-6-9, 5-10. In fact, no, I'm slightly... I don't know, it's difficult. But before knight c6... so anyway, let's have a quick look at this. So, I don't know, maybe this is okay for white here, but e6, I don't know, it's double-edged. Giving up dark square bishop, and the g file he's nicely using. So this is a bit of an obscure tactical idea to open up the diagonal against one's own king. But it's the variations which are interesting here of the knight g5, not the principles. So quick queen f7, for example, knight f7 check, king moves, bishop takes c6, and bishop takes b7. Mind you, there's queen h3 mating in that line. I don't know, it's a bit of a tricky position. Please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.